So with the original SpongeBob SquarePants movie that was going to be the end of SpongeBob after the first movie, according to the original creator Steven Hillenburg. Steven Hillenburg's original plan was to end SpongeBob after the first movie back in 2004, 1 year after I was born. But of course, the show continued further after having two other movies, which are prequel movies, pretty much. Of course, the first SpongeBob movie is considered, of course, the classic best, and considering that it was Steven Hillenburg's original idea to end off the whole show, and basically kind of ended off the original timeline. And after the first movie and onto the two other movies are pretty much prequels. Not in the actual timeline, but in, I guess, in a whole nother timeline. Not just the actual timeline, but holding another timeline. But I want to talk about, did SpongeBob really go downhill after the first movie? You know, like you see people say, did this SpongeBob even go downhill entirely after the first movie? Steven Hillenburg's original plans to end off the series after the first movie. Now, that's a lot of questions that it can be asked. I mean, Steven Hillenburg's original pitch was to end off the whole series of SpongeBob just with 3 seasons and a movie. That was his original idea. But of course, Nickelodeon basically, or SpongeBob became big for Nickelodeon. So why would they end it when SpongeBob was becoming very popular, like one of the Nickelodeon's biggest mascots? So, of course, that's when they decided not to end it. And of course, well, more people wanted to work on the show and had new ideas. But that's when a lot of people would say things gone downhill. I mean, not all episodes after the first movie were terrible. Don't get me wrong. There were great episodes after the movies, right? But again, the first movie wouldn't hold, or no other movies, the prequel movies pretty much, after the first movie would never beat the first movie because, well, again, the original idea of Steven Hillenburg's end for SpongeBob, and basically to conclude it in what kind of a great movie it was that Steven Hillenburg thought of with the ending of, that was going to be the ending of SpongeBob with the first movie, like Plankton taking over Bikini Bottom, showing how pure evil he is, and sending out a murderer to go and hiring a murderer to go and take out SpongeBob and Patrick from taking back the crown, getting back the crown to King Neptune. Again, Dennis was really great in the movie, I can just tell you. And of course, even SpongeBob and Patrick getting drunk in the first movie. Basically, them getting drunk with ice cream by eating ice cream in the first movie. Yeah. Characters getting drunk in a kid's film. That's a thing. Because, by eating so much ice cream. SpongeBob and Patrick get drunk by eating too much ice cream. And of course, King Neptune claiming Krabs stole the crown even though Plankton did. And Mr. Krabs getting frozen while SpongeBob and Patrick have 6 days to retrieve King Neptune's crown, or Mr. Krabs gets fried. And of course, Patrick's crush on Mindy in this movie that we've seen too. And again, we can't forget the bubble-blowing babies. The blowing bubble baby. We cannot forget that either. The blowing bubble baby. Like, that's also a memorable thing. And the Goofy Goober rock and Goofy Goober theme song, like, that's the bestest. And again, Plankton in the whole first movie was absolutely great. I mean, Plankton's Plan Z and him hiring a murderer to go after SpongeBob and Patrick to make sure they don't bring back the crown, like, that's just pure evil with Plankton. And SpongeBob claims, he claims Plankton as one of his best friends, and Plankton, of course, being what SpongeBob's saying to be his best friend, sent out a murderer to go and tries to take out SpongeBob and Patrick by bringing back King Neptune's crown and saving Mr. Krabs. Like, that does not even seem like a thing a good friend would do, wouldn't it? And again, of course, we have the other stuff, like the third SpongeBob movie with Keanu Reeves as Sage. And we got Snoop Dogg, for Pete's sake. We got Snoop Dogg in that movie, too. In Sponge on the Run. Right? Which I didn't mind Sponge on the Run. I could just tell you. And, of course, the Camp Coral flashbacks, which people don't really have good negative responses to. And King Neptune, which had a real gruesome scene of him showing his true identity, his true look of him being old, very old, and yeah, and he even claims himself very age appropriate, which you can give credit there. And we got stuff like the sponge out of water with Burger Beard, and the superhero scenes, which I didn't mind either. Again, the prequel movies, the Sponge Out of Water and Sponge on the Run are basically prequels, not actual SpongeBob universe. They're just prequels. Because, of course, the first movie was, again, the end of the regular timeline. And then after the first movie began a new timeline. And that's where the second two movies start. I mean, again, the second two movies, as basically prequels, aren't too bad. And again, with the third movie having In Memory of Steven Hillenburg at the end of the credits, which, R.I.P., he will be remembered as the best creator of our childhood. And, of course, we do have bad episodes, of course, from the, I guess, pre-movie, after movie. Like, I can name a few that were bad episodes, but, like, some Ink Lemonade, and, of course, the Quarantine Crab, which I still regret watching, just to name a few. But again, things definitely went down pretty differently after the first movie, if I could say, with SpongeBob. But what do y'all think? Do y'all think the first SpongeBob movie should have been stayed as the actual ending of SpongeBob and should have had 3 seasons? Or are you glad that it's still continuing on? Let me know in the comment section down below. And once again, rest in peace, Steven Hillenburg. And let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching. See you next video. Bye.